Molt bon vespre a tothom. Comencem aquesta darrera sessió del Festival MOT i tenim la sort i el privilegi d'estar acompanyats d'un autor turc, Burhan Sönmez, i abans que presentar-lo voldria fer un petit preàmbul sobre la literatura turca, que és una literatura molt important que tenim molt a prop però que ens és encara, malauradament, molt desconeguda. La literatura turca és una tradició literària de llarga tradició, molt influenciada sobretot per la literatura persa, per la literatura àrab, que li són, evidentment, veïnes per geografia. Durant molts segles va estar escrita primerament només amb l'alfabet dels àrabs, en la forma turco-otomana, que és una forma peculiar, i només a partir de 1928, amb la reforma de Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, canvia l'alfabet llatí, i per tant la literatura turca s'escriu en alfabet llatí. Les primeres inscripcions en turc daten del segle VIII, una mica abans que les nostres, en llengua catalana, són les inscripcions d'Orton, molt lluny d'aquí, a Mongòlia, i després, entre els segles IX i X, les tribus turques comencen a migrar pel centre d'Àsia i és allà on neix la que es coneix com l'èpica oral de les tribus nòmades, precisament del centre d'Àsia. Al segle XI aquestes tribus adentren al Pròxim Orient i s'instal·laran a la península anatòlica en el que avui és la República de Turquia. És a partir del segle XI que es desenvolupen dues tradicions literàries molt clares, molt separades, l'oral, que es manté amb aquestes tradicions de les tribus portades del centre d'Àsia, i l'escrita, que tindrà una evolució a part. Només al segle XX, als anys 20 del segle XX, amb la fundació de la República de Turquia, l'any 23, podem dir que les dues tradicions s'ajunten i conformen, a partir d'aquest moment, la literatura turca que nosaltres podem llegir de forma contemporània. En tot aquest llarg trajecte podem esmentar molts noms, podem esmentar figures importants, des de les cançons i les anècdotes d'un savi, una mena de Sancho Panza que tenen els turcs, que es diu Nasreddin, el poeta místic del segle XIII, Yunus Emre, un poeta que diu en alguns versos que és un poeta amorós i ell diu que està enamorat de l'amor. És un poeta molt, molt bonic. També el gran poeta de divan del segle XVI, Fuzuli, o noms del segle XX ja molt grans, molt influents, com Nazim Hikmet, Vedat Turkali i sobretot Yasser Kemal, per no acabar parlant i evidentment dir que el 2006 la literatura turca toca un cim amb el lliurament del Premi Nobel a Orhan Pamuk. Aquesta llista de noms il·lustres d'aquesta literatura llarga, fecunda, preciosa, hi afegim ara el de Burhan Sönmez. Ell és nascut l'any 65, a Ankara, o de fet als voltants d'Ankara, és professor de teoria literària i advocat especialista en drets humans. L'any 1996, malauradament, un assalt policial durant una manifestació pacífica el va deixar malferit i va haver-se d'exiliar a Londres, on va ser tractat gràcies o va ser curat per una ONG, Freedom for Torture, que el va recuperar. Ell és membre fundador del Cercle del PEN Internacional, dels escriptors del Cercle Internacional, i ha rebut també el Premi Disturbing the Peace, atorgat per la Václav Havel Library Foundation, i és un reconeixement als escriptors perseguits per haver desafiat els règims totalitaris. Ell té essencialment tres novel·les, ara tot just n'ha publicat una altra, però té tres novel·les essencials que l'han fet cèlebre fins al moment. La primera novel·la es diu Cosei, Nord, publicada el 2009, que és la història d'un home que va ser abandonat pel seu pare quan era petit i després de 20 anys el cadàver del seu pare arriba a casa seva. Ell, el protagonista, intentarà resoldre el misteri per descobrir la identitat del seu pare i al mateix temps la seva pròpia identitat. S'ha dit d'aquest llibre que es tracta, més que d'una novel·la, d'un conte filosòfic. I és un llibre on ja apareix una característica de la seva obra, del seu mester literari, que és la inclusió en el relat de molts contes orientals i llegendes de substrat popular. La segona novel·la, publicada el 2011, es diu Mas Sumlar i s'ha traduït a l'anglès i a d'altres llengües com a Pecats i innocents. Aquesta obra va ser la guanyadora del premi més prestigiós literari que hi ha a Turquia, que és el Sedat Simani, i és la història de dues persones exiliades, una dona iraniana i un home que pateix insomne, que es troben a Cambridge, que és també la ciutat on el nostre invitat d'avui ha passat el seu exili, també part de la vida que fa avui en dia. És una novel·la sobre el dolor de l'exili, lligat als records de la infantesa, passada a la plana de Haimana, que és el lloc natal d'on ell ha nascut. És una novel·la sobre la melanconia, sobre allò perdut, però també de l'esperança de retrobar-ho o de pensar que ho trobarem en un futur. Burhan So, el protagonista d'aquesta novel·la, té voluntat de canviar la seva vida i de canviar el món, i per tant hi ha una força, hi ha una energia positiva en aquest explicar. De la plana de Haimana, que ell explica, i de les històries que surten d'aquesta plana de Haimana, s'ha dit que s'ha convertit en el Macondo anatòlic i, per tant, inscriu el nostre autor en allò que comúment s'anomena ja el realisme màgic, i en aquest cas el realisme màgic turc. En aquest llibre es tracta una cosa que, evidentment, forma part de la seva biografia d'una forma molt clara, que és la memòria ferida dels kurds. Ell és turc, però és kurd, i aquest nus forma part també de la seva vida i de la seva, evidentment, literatura. No és tant en el llibre la pregunta qui soc o què soc, sinó on soc. Amb aquesta novel·la se l'ha anomenat, i en parlarem després, fill de Yasar Kemal, que és un dels grandíssims narradors de la literatura turca moderna. Les seves novel·les s'han traduït i editat a 36 països del planeta i, per tant, s'han editat en moltes llengües. N'esmentaré unes quantes, perquè a banda de les naturals de l'Europa occidental i, evidentment, del món occidental, se'l pot llegir en albanès, en armeni, en àrab, en kurd, en croata, en amhàric, que és la llengua d'Etiòpia, en urdu, en mongol, en azerí o en macedoni. Això ja només ens indica l'abast del sotrac que ha representat la seva veu i la seva literatura. Tenim el goig avui de tenir-lo, per tant, aquí avui entre nosaltres, sobretot per parlar d'una novel·la que va sortir publicada l'any passat, que és Istanbul, Istanbul. Però, tot just començant aquesta entrevista, moltes gràcies, Burhan, per estar aquí entre nosaltres. Pel que he explicat, jo et dic, i és evident per tots els que hem llegit la seva obra, que els personatges de les teves novel·les són sovint víctimes de tortures o d'injustícies i pateixen en una societat on s'actua contra els drets humans, com tu mateix has patit també al teu país. La meva pregunta per començar, a més és un tema que ha sortit abans a la conversa anterior, és la teva escriptura és conscientment militant? Són els teus personatges també una mena de militants contra aquests abusos, contra l'abús dels drets humans?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here to a beautiful city, to a beautiful festival. Though I've been to Spain many times, but this is my first time in the city of Girona. I hope I will come here again. If you are happy with me, with my books, because this time I didn't have chance to see around. I just arrived this noon from Oslo and leaving tomorrow morning. Let's go straight away into the question, the difficult question you asked. I come from Kurdish background. I was a lawyer. I was an exile. I am a lover of literature. When I write a novel, my intention or my desire is to write about life. When we say life, it's too common. You cannot divide it. You cannot leave something particular out of life. What I mean, the politics. Especially when it comes to politics, it's controversial topic. So many writers try to avoid from it. They don't want to write something politics. But not writing something politics, also politics. So when I write about a person or about part of society, I write everything related to them, about the demolition of beautiful buildings, or separated lovers, or the longing of an abandoned child for his or her mother. That's all part of our lives as politics. So when I write, I don't hesitate, and my pen never trembles. I just write what my heart and my mind desire.
Tu t'has hagut d'exiliar a Cambridge per raons polítiques, com també ja ho he dit, ho fa el protagonista de la teva segona novel·la, Pecats i innocents, i que porta per nom Burhan So. La primera frase de la novel·la és: la meva pàtria va ser la meva infantesa. Per tant, la teva pàtria, com a kurd que viu a Turquia, és només la memòria del temps passat, de la teva infantesa i de les històries que aleshores escoltaves de la teva mare? És només això, la teva pàtria?
Our mother tongue is our first homeland. In every language, we say mother tongue, the tongue that comes from our mother. I don't know what you call it in Catalan. Is it
Llengua materna.
Materna, yeah. It is same in English, in Turkish, in Catalan, but it is different in Kurdish. Mother tongue in Kurdish means the language that you received from the womb of your mother. That means before you were born, when you were in the belly of your mother, you got the language. That's the basic human rights. We grow up with that language, with the fairy tales, with the songs in Kurdish. Then we start primary school, it's forbidden language. You go to court, it's forbidden. You go to any institution, any hospital, it's forbidden language. Then I felt our motherland is our childhood. Then what's childhood? That's the first part. And the second part is it's the dilemma between childhood and aging. As we age, as we come closer to the death, to the end of life, we miss our past. That's the childhood. As if it's the homeland, as if it's the womb of our mother, we would like to return there. We know that it's impossible, then we get the nostalgia and melancholy. How can we get over that? The book is about it.
Okay. Nice. La memòria, per tant, és veritablement molt important en les teves novel·les i tot sembla basar-se en els records. Entre els records, evidentment, hi ha les històries. Podem ser fills només d'històries i de contes?
Yeah, that's right. Because memory is certainly something subjective. In my new novel, published after this Istanbul, published a few months ago in Turkey, it's about a young Turkish blues singer who tries to kill himself, but can't be successful, and opens his eyes in hospital and realizes that he lost his memory. He cannot remember anything, and he doesn't know why he wanted to kill himself. And friends come, members of family come around, and they start to give him a past. For example, they say, you don't like smoking. You don't like tea, you prefer coffee. What makes our personality? Who makes our memory? Then starts the social memory. What's the memory of this society? How we perceive the era of Franco or the era of 1492. Same in every country. Building up a personality is building up their memory. That's why memory always is the main topic of the oppressive governments. They play with our memory, individual and social memory. I wanted to focus on it, but it's so, as I said, very subjective and relative area. When I realized it, let me give you an example. In my book, Istanbul, Istanbul, if you have a copy, you will see on the first page, there is a map of prison block.
The cells.
Yeah, the cells. When I was writing the book, I wanted to use the real cell block, that very famous torture center in Turkey after 1980 military coup. As a student, I was there, but I couldn't remember which cell number I was in. Was it 38 or 39? And also when I drew the map, I couldn't remember which cell was on the corner, 41 or 42. And the back corridor, the rear corridor, starts with which number, 42 or 43? So I decided to ask my friends, all of them now lawyers, because we were law students together there. Sometimes we come together, we drink raki. And we gathered again. I said, hey, guys, girls, now I'm writing a novel about the place that we were years ago. But I need a map of the place. I'm not sure about it. Can you please draw? And about 10, 15 people, everybody drew it. All of them were different. It's not a character, a person, or an incident. The simple two-corridor cell block. Everybody is remembering it in a different way. Then I said, okay, that's our personal destiny. Maybe it's our chance, gift, but also the biggest chaos we face always, especially in personal relationships. You know, it's very dangerous. With your wife or with your partner, you all say, oh, you did this last year. No, I didn't, you did this. And you start to remind each other what happened last year. And you always think that the other part, changing your past deliberately. But no, we are doing the same thing at the same time, actually. So when I was writing this novel and other novels, I always considered this foggy, misty side of the memory. Mm-hmm. So we should be careful. We should be very selfish about it. We should defend our memory against others, especially against governments, against political powers, against media nowadays, against social media, because that's the only power we have to create our future.
Ho he dit quan he presentat la seva bibliografia, però s'ha dit molt de la teva segona novel·la, Pecats innocents, que descriu la plana de Haimana com un Macondo anatòlic. Et reconeixes en aquest estil anomenat així, realisme màgic? T'hi reconeixes?
Yes, in that book especially. Even in the story of the book, I used the name of Marquez as a reference, because Marquez's Persian Iranian translator lives in Cambridge, and she talks about their meeting with Marquez in the book. I used Marquez in that book deliberately because I kind of copied his style that he used in 100 Years of Solitude. He wrote it in 500 pages. I wrote it in 200 pages. And I knew that people would say that. I wanted that people to say that. And when book published in Turkey, everybody said, oh, okay, this is Anatolian Marquez. Even in Italy, they said, okay, we got a Marquez from Turkey, blah, blah, blah. But they also say, in Turkey, we have a real equivalent of Marquez as Yaşar Kemal. In Turkey, if you ask people, most of them will say the greatest novelist, Yaşar Kemal. He just passed away a few years ago. And some people also use my name as the son of Yaşar Kemal, the new Yaşar Kemal. Yaşar Kemal was 90 years old at the time, and he gave me a call. It was something scary. You know, you're a young writer, new writer, and he's a 90 years old legend. He said, hey boy, do you speak Kurdish? I said, yes, master. He said, okay, speak to me in Kurdish. I said, okay. He said, why don't you call me? I said, how can I call you? You are like, over the moon in Turkish culture, society. Even every prime minister, they would like to visit him, when they come to power. He said, okay, you have 24 hours. Tomorrow morning you will come to see me.
Wow.
And I say, okay. And then we had a wonderful day and very good relation.
Okay. Just jo ho he dit també a la presentació, per al coneixement de tots vosaltres, Yasser Kemal és un dels escriptors, com molt bé ell acaba d'explicar, dels més importants i fa molt pocs anys que ja no es viu. Ell és un escriptor d'arrels kurdes, com el nostre invitat d'avui, molt reconegut internacionalment, està traduït a moltes llengües, no a la nostra. Ell va ser un ferm defensor també dels drets humans, també va ser reclòs a la presó diverses vegades per defensar aquests drets humans, va conrear tota mena de gèneres literaris i va recollir també, com el nostre autor ha fet en els seus llibres, moltes tradicions orals, en aquest cas de l'Àsia Menor, és a dir, més de la península tònica, més a la costa. Ell, la seva característica, la seva obra està escrita en un turc ordenat, senzill, molt clar, i de fet, Said Faik va dir d'ell, de Yasser Kemal, que era el més kurd dels turcs i el més turc dels kurds. D'acord? Per tant, era una pregunta que jo tenia preparada, si veritablement ell acceptava aquesta paternitat, però, com acaba d'explicar, anant a veure-la a casa seva i rebent les seves benediccions, entenem que això va ser així. La teva mirada al passat, en els teus llibres, és molt poètica. Hi ha moltes referències literàries entrellaçades entre la teva prosa. Les teves novel·les són així gràcies a la poesia?
Yes, I think so. And also, it's kind of lamenting for poetry, because I like that old saying. They say, all novelists are unsuccessful poets, because they couldn't write good poetry, then they start to write novels. Yeah. And they try to create a poetic sound in their novels. That's a joke, but I like that joke. Of course, I started my literary life by writing poems. Even I won some national awards. But later on, something happened. I had something in my brain. Seriously, I had some physical problem, thanks to Turkish police. And then I started to write novels. Do I regret? No. I'm happy that I'm a novelist now, but also I'm writing poems as well. But not as good as you, of course.
Que sapigueu que Burhan Sönmez està invitat el proper mes, el mes de maig, a la Setmana de Poesia de Barcelona, al Festival Internacional de Poesia de Barcelona. Estarà de nou, per tant, a Catalunya, però estarà recitant com a poeta. Per tant, teniu una nova ocasió de veure'l en directe a Barcelona el mes vinent. Si Wittgenstein, com va fer també Aristòtil, creia que el tot no era sinó allò creat per la reunió de les parts, tu, com ells, crees una novel·la a partir de moltes petites històries. Per tant, moltes històries fan una novel·la?
Yes, that's right. I wrote 4 novels so far. Almost all of them have similar pattern of writing. A frame story, then story within story, like envelope within envelope, like Arabian Nights of 1001 Nights, or like Decameron stories. This is something that I didn't choose deliberately or on purpose. I realized that this is my style after finishing my second novel. Okay, then I started to ask myself, why is this my style? Because writing novel or other things is kind of psychotherapy to realize yourself, to bring unknown yourself over surface. I think it comes, of course, we cannot be sure about our brain. Of course, there are some maybe different via in my brain, but mainly it comes from the fairy tales that my mom told us. Most of the Kurdish folk tales she told us when we were little, they were similar, full of riddles, full of questions, funny sides, sad sides. But you would always know that fairy tales will never end that night. Following night, you will see the continues.
Okay. Per tant, les mil i una nits presents a tot arreu. Anem a parlar ara de la novel·la d'Istanbul, Istanbul. Jo tenia apuntat aquí la darrera, però no, perquè acaba de publicar aquesta última. Però vaja, ha sortit publicada en català per edicions Periscopi i tinc entès que ha sortit tot just ara també traduïda al castellà. La primera pregunta, molt directa. Tots els escriptors turcs es veuen obligats, abans o després, a escriure sobre Istanbul? Voldria recordar només que Napoleó va dir que si la Terra fos un sol país, Istanbul, ell va dir Constantinoble, seria la seva capital. Però clar, l'atracció d'aquesta ciutat obliga tots els escriptors turcs a escriure sobre Istanbul.
I think it's, if we call it a destiny, yes, it's a cultural destiny. Because we got a very strong culture of Istanbul in the last 200 years. Very powerful Istanbul literature, Istanbul music, Istanbul movies. When I published my second novel, I just started to write Istanbul, Istanbul. And my niece came to me. She's a very good reader. She said, "Uncle, when are you going to write your Istanbul novel?" I didn't reveal anything. I said, "Don't worry, darling. Okay, I will write someday." I mean, everybody expects you to write something about Istanbul or for Istanbul. And also, it's a desire within us, in our chest, because we got so many things about Istanbul. When I was little, okay, we always go back to my mom. She would be so happy to hear this. When she was telling us those fairy tales, even though they are Kurdish fairy tales, sometimes she would say, there was a princess. She was taken away to Istanbul. We would just imagine Istanbul, a magical place. Now I am over 50 years old. Istanbul is still a magical place for me.
Un crític va escrit sobre tu amb una frase molt contundent. Diu, oblideu-vos d'Orhan Pamuk. Burhan Sönmez ha escrit la veritable novel·la sobre Istanbul. De nou et pregunto, tots els escriptors turcs escriuen la seva pròpia Istanbul i tu, perquè ho has vist com un lloc màgic, tu creus que has retratat de debò Istanbul com tu volies, des de sota?
Yes, I'd like to say yes to this question. In our literature, we have two important phases of Istanbul novels. The second one is Orhan Pamuk. He created a great Istanbul literature in his novels. Now, when we read Orhan Pamuk's novels, we see a wonderful Orhan Pamuk Istanbul. Mm-hmm. But before Orhan Pamuk, his predecessor was Tanpınar. Mm-hmm. He is the first man, novelist, who created Istanbul literature in novel. Now in Turkey, if you write anything about Istanbul, everybody will try to find some fingerprint from Tanpınar, especially. When I started to write this book, I knew that there were two big examples, Tanpınar and Pamuk. What should I do? When we write novels on our computer, we have list. do's list. Do this, do this, do this. But also we have another list. Don't do this. Don't do this, don't do this. For this book, I worked on that don't do this list a lot. Because I didn't want to repeat Pamuk or Tanpınar. And of course, I found my own way by changing the concept of geography and time. Because they used the same concept of geography and time. It's been used in the same in the last 200 years. But my belief that that era ended. Now we are in a new era, 21st century, and we have to define in a new way the space and the time in Istanbul.
Tu retrates la ciutat d'Istanbul i ho fas molt bé i escrius també sobretot sobre els canvis que ha patit o que està patint aquesta ciutat i moltes vegades aquests canvis són en negatiu, són a pitjor. Per tant, la ciutat d'Istanbul que tu ens escrius és una ciutat que una mica sembla perdre el glamour o l'idealisme o el romanticisme, fins i tot amb què molts escriptors ens l'han retratada. Per tant, tu intentes mostrar-nos una cara diferent d'Istanbul? És que la té? És que oblida? És que una cara mata l'altra cara? És a dir, la cara dolenta que nosaltres també veiem en la novel·la que has escrit, tapa, amaga la de sempre, la Istanbul de sempre que ens ha arribat fins ara?
Yes. We have two different Istanbuls. Of course, we can say 20 different Istanbuls. But to keep it minimum, let's say more than one Istanbuls. We can, define one evil, the other one is good. Who is changing Istanbul? If we ask this question, let's focus in last 50 years. Who is changing? Okay, it's easy. Constructions companies, governments that ruled by rich people, and some corrupted powers. We don't change it, not me, not you. Then if they change it, we can easily assume that they are doing something evil to that city. Because their main focus is not beauty, the profit. That's why 5 or 6 years now, I think 6 years ago, when an uprising broke up in Istanbul, just for a tiny small park in the center of a city called Taksim, Gezi Park. They wanted to destroy that park and to build a shopping mall, shopping center. In Istanbul, if you come, you will see we have got very few parks in the city. And suddenly people revolted. And the result, we saved the park. But it was too expensive. They killed 8 young men. They wounded 5,000 people. They put 5,000 people into prison. That's why now Taksim Gezi Park is the most valuable park in my eyes in this world. We won it, but it was too expensive. What's the meaning then? I think the meaning is the value when we talk the motherland. What's the motherland? The place we were born and our mother tongue, and also the motherland is the city, the place that we live in at the moment. We should defend it, not only for ourselves, for our children, for our friends. When you come to Istanbul, I'd like to take you to some beautiful street full of traditional drinking restaurants, but they want to destroy it. 6 years ago they tried it, but we stopped it. I'd like to defend it, just to enjoy it with my friends. That is simply defending your life. And we got that consciousness. I'm happy about this in Turkey, but still they are more powerful than us. Yeah. And all this book, when Gezi uprising erupted, I was in England writing my book, Istanbul, Istanbul. It has nothing to do with that events. But suddenly everything, mixed inside each other. And I realized that the only purpose of writing for myself is to define the beauty of the city, the beauty of mankind, the beauty of people when they are suffering, how we treat each other. I've been a refugee in Britain longer than 10 years. I got medical help from human rights organizations. They saved my life. But now I'm in Turkey. We've got 3 million Syrian refugees. I have to help them in the same way. But we know that the sense of general public is not good. There is a new wave of populism, right-wing, conservative language, always describing differences between people rather than the common, sharing things. I think we have to raise or praise the common things, the sharing things. I don't see any different. I come from Kurdish origin, but I don't want to say Kurdish language or Kurdish nation should be praised against Turks. No, I like Turks. I lived in Britain. I like English people. In every nation, in every culture, there are good and bad sides. So we have to all together defend the good sides everywhere, in literature, in music, in politics, and in social life.
Nazim Hikmet, un dels poetes que he esmentat abans de la llista de grans figures de la literatura turca, Nazim Hikmet és del segle XX, va ser sentenciat a 28 anys a presó per les seves idees comunistes i el seu poemari Des de les 4 presons, el poema número 2, diu des de la seva cel·la, i cito: «El món és increïblement immens per mi. Hagués volgut recórrer el món, veure els peixos, les fruites, els astres. Però, malauradament, només pels llibres i pels atles he viatjat per Europa». Aquesta idea d'estar tancat en una presó, però imaginar, córrer, viatjar, moure's pel món exterior, és motor, gènesi, pinyol primer de la teva novel·la. La literatura, així com tu l'entens i com tu l'escrius, eixampla les parets?
Yes, literature breaks the walls, and I think our brain does it. In daily life, we deal in our brain only maybe 5% of reality. More than 90% is just dreaming. Let's say my girlfriend or my wife abandoned me. At night, when I go to sleep, I think of her, I suffer. But most of the thing I dream is I reunite with her. And I remember the times that I spent with her. So our brain has a tendency always go to that side, that empty space, that bright side. The idea of this book came from a similar example. I just said, when I was a student at the law, studying in university after military coup, I was arrested. Of course, I was young, 19 years old. At midnight, blindfolded, they put me in a cell. It was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. In the cell, there were 4 or 5 people, of course, dark place. They said, don't worry, okay, just sleep and get rest. A few hours, you will need it. And a few hours later, they woke me up. They said, get up, we are going out to run today. I said, what to run? They said, we do jogging every day. Because I didn't know, how it works in prison. At the time, there was no multi-channel TVs, no smartphones, we didn't know anything. There was only a couple of newspapers, and it was controlled by the military junta. I said, okay, that's not too bad place, to be in prison if they allow you to go to jogging outside. They said, okay, stand up. And we all stood up, about 4 or 5 people. And by us, the size of cell is 1 meter by 2 meters. Very small, like a coffin. We stood up. We started to run in the cell. And And the one in front says, okay, we are going to Yıldız Park today. The one behind him said, no, we were there yesterday. Let's go to buy the Bosphorus today. They started to have quarrel, something serious. Anyway, in the end, they settled and we went some imaginary place in Istanbul. And they started to describe the things they see. Hey, look at that bird. It's wonderful. Oh, look at that woman. Wasn't she here yesterday? Oh, no, it's not the same woman. Look at different, outfits. And every day they did this, as if they're outside, but they're in a dark 1 by 2 meter cell. They did. They were big people. I was 19 years old. But when you are 19 years old, 23 or 24 years old look very big. Now I realize that they were kids, but they were smart and they had great imagination. When I started to have an idea of writing a novel about Istanbul, when I said, okay, it should be different from Tanpınar's or Pamuk's Istanbul, because they tried to see Istanbul from west or east, because Istanbul is very well known, the meeting point of west and east, kind of geographical definition. And also in a timeline, east resembles past, west resembles future. So I said, okay, let's get rid of it. Instead, put my characters 3 floors underground. So if you are underground, there is no east or west, because you will lose your sense of direction. You don't know where is south or north. And secondly, when you are in pain, when you are being tortured, you lose your sense of time. When you are in pain, you don't think about the past or the future. You only think about the present, about the pain. By putting those 4 characters in that small cell in pain, I tried to manage, combine time and all directions at a single point. Then it gave me a chance to create my own Istanbul. So when they are underground, which directions can they look? Upwards. The only direction, because 3 floors underground. Where is Istanbul? 3 floors above. And they start to look vertically and talk about Istanbul on the surface. Then it changed the direction. Because when we look at Istanbul from the west, we see the east in the city. When we look at Istanbul from the east, we see the west in the city. But when you are in the heart of the city, you see the city, not east or west. I wanted to give that sense of being at the heart.
La novel·la, com bé veieu, els que no l'hagueu llegida, o pels que ja heu tingut la sort de llegir-la, no l'explicarem tota, però sí direm, és la història de 4 presoners, com ell molt bé explica, tancats en una cel·la, patint tortura, i des de la cel·la s'expliquen històries d'Istanbul per escapar, evidentment, la misèria que viuen en aquests moments. Fumen sense cigarretes, riuen, s'expliquen contes, endevinalles, i així es distreuen del dolor i del terror de les tortures quan arriba el moment, perquè senten la porta de ferro que s'obre. El místic al-Hallaj, que va ser torturat i esquarterat pel seu misticisme, pels poemes místics que escrivia, al segle X, va dir: l'infern no és el lloc on sofrim, sinó el lloc on ningú no sent que sofrim. Aquest poder de la imaginació, de les paraules i, per tant, de la literatura, tu dius en una entrevista sobre això que sempre tenim la imaginació per una altra forma de vida. És, per tant, la imaginació la que ens pot salvar de tot, fins i tot d'una situació tan terrible com aquesta.
Yes. I will say yes, but don't believe me. Because I am too optimistic. In Turkey, my friends always say, oh, no, you are saying the same crap. Politically, we are going very difficult times, but I'm always smiling. I say, it's okay, we will get rid of them. and in the near future we will change it. Of course, it doesn't happen easily, but that's the way, to see the future. When we look at the history, when Spartacus lived 2,000 years ago, he fought against slavery. We are in 21st century. Still, there is widespread slavery in many continents, in Africa, Asia, Latin America. 2,000 years, more than 2,000 years ago, Cicero, philosopher, orator, he wrote something. Similar thing, people say it today. He said, children no longer obey their parents, and everybody is writing a book. I think now, today, everybody is complaining the same thing. They say, oh, the young generation, they don't listen to anything. They are stupid, they don't read. And everybody is writing, crabby, very bad books. So after 2,000 years, we are still struggling the same things, maybe. It shouldn't make us hopeless or feeling despair. On the contrary, it should give us a strength that still we try to change this world. After 2,000 years, we haven't lost that power, that energy, like Nietzsche says, that willpower.
Istanbul, i cito, és tan real com també molt ambigua, i en ella hi ha tant el bo com el dolent. Per això és evident que gràcies a això se'm permet que se'n faci una novel·la, i més una novel·la com aquesta, la teva. D'altres ciutats també podrien ser així novel·lades si es troben sota l'opressió d'un govern tirà. És la resistència dels seus habitants les que fa que les ciutats es converteixin en heroïnes?
Maybe not very much related to resistance. Maybe it's mainly part of storytellers. For example, my village is very small. About 200 people live there. In my 2-3 books, I use so many elements of that village in Haymana region. Now it's kind of become immortal. If you ask my villagers, I write only about our village. All of them read my novels. When I go to village, every summer I go to village for helping my parents at harvest. Everyone comes, they say, okay, I've got a good story for you, okay? You can use it, but use my name, okay? There are so many names in the books. Comes from my village, because I have to make them happy in order to be able to go back to next summer. Otherwise, they will not be very, welcoming. Yeah. In a small village or in a big city, it depends how we give them life in our songs, in our musics. We know Troy just because of Homeros. In the history, there have been hundreds of Troys, but we only have one Troy thanks to Homeros.
De les històries que expliquen els 4 presoners a la cel·la, quantes d'aquestes històries són teves i quantes són històries veritablement del substrat popular? Tu, amb això que has rebut de la teva mare i dels contadors de contes, de tota aquesta tradició popular, tu què més has afegit? O quantes d'aquestes històries tu t'has inventat?
I'm not sure about the percentage, but okay, let's say, of course, most of them created by me. I like making up stories. But in relation with this book, I also wanted to use some general stories known by public or by literary people. Because the sense of this book is the book of stories of the world, like openly referring Decameron by Boccaccio, or referring Moby Dick, or Baudelaire, or Dostoevsky. For example, I will not tell you which one it is, but I used one story from Decameron, Boccaccio's Decameron. And I chose that story because Pasolini didn't use that story. If you watch the movie Decameron by Pasolini, there are 9 or 10 stories taken from the book, then he shot them in the movie. I liked the movie very much. Then somehow I found the screenplay, the screenwriting. Then I read it. And then I realized the last story in screenwriting was not in the movie. Pasolini, in the beginning, he wrote the text. But when he was shooting, he decided to leave the last story outside the movie. I said, thanks to him. He left it out just for me. Then I took it, I put in that book.
Okay. És veritat que la seva novel·la, Istanbul, Istanbul, té molts ressons, té moltes influències d'altres grans llibres. Evidentment, Les mil i una nits, sabeu que és aquest grandíssim compendi de contes d'origen persa, d'origen indi, però que han passat a través del món àrab. I és només gràcies a la traducció francesa d'Antoine Galland, a principis del segle XVIII, que es va fer famosa a casa nostra. Vull dir que Les mil i una nits, en la literatura àrab, ha sigut una obra molt denostada, precisament perquè és un calaix de sastre, perquè hi havia només aquesta història marc d'una reina que explica contes inacabablement per sobreviure. També la salva la literatura, també la salva ella. Però, evidentment, aquesta història de Les mil i una nits està en el rerefons, com no, de la gènesi de la novel·la de Burhan Sönmez, però, com ella acaba de parlar, parla del Decameró, el Decameró de Boccaccio, que s'escriu al segle XIV. Hi ha 10 personatges que, espaordits per la pesta, que s'estén per la Florència del moment, s'expliquen 100 històries. I, per tant, també hi ha una concatenació d'històries en un moment de tensió, en un moment de por, i, evidentment, això serveix també d'influència, com acabem de veure, de l'Istanbul, Istanbul del nostre protagonista. És veritat que en la teva novel·la són presoners, el Decameró són persones espantades per la por, presoneres de la por, de la pesta a l'edat mitjana. Tu has intentat que Istanbul, Istanbul tingui al mateix temps la mateixa estructura que el Decameró. És a dir, no només és la influència de que s'expliquen històries per unes persones atenallades per la por, sinó que l'estructura pròpia del llibre segueix la del Decameró. Vull dir, és intencionat.
Yeah. Some people say that the history of mankind is always progressing for better. There's a big question mark. When I read Decameron again while writing this book, I saw that a group of men and women escaped Florence in order to run away from Black Death epidemic. And then they started to tell stories to each other in order to pass time. It was the best thing, to do. And in my novel, they are being tortured always in the interrogation room. But when they are brought back to the cell, in that dark cell, they need something to pass time. They start to tell stories to each other. And one of them quote Decameron. And then one other person says, but there is one difference between us and the Decameron people, because they manage to get away from the danger of death. They are safe, but we are still in the hands of that danger. We are still in the risk. That's the difference between Middle Age and Modern Age, maybe. And with That's not the main point I wanted to take from the camera. The main point for me was that Boccaccio did something great in that book. It was the first time in the history of literature. He used two elements in his stories. One is humor, the other one is sexuality, especially sexuality of women in the book. The sexuality of women kind of resembles the freedom of body. And the humor is the freedom of mind, because humor is a challenge against death, against any despotic, oppressive system. In my novel, my characters, they use first humor. There are so many funny stories, riddles, because they need that freedom of their mind. By telling funny stories in that very difficult position, gives you power against death, pain, and fear. And secondly, I used the power of that storytelling very strongly. Even when one of them is on his own in the cell, he is telling a story to himself, as if there is someone else next to him. By that, giving the sense of freedom of body and the freedom of mind, we can recreate the man of future or the woman of future. I want to take those kind of elements from the Decameron and recreate them in this novel.
És una novel·la de denúncia i pot fer referència a tot tipus d'opressors, a tot tipus d'oprimits arreu del món, i per bé que el temps concret en la novel·la de Sönmez no s'esmenta, i només hi ha algunes referències temporals molt petites. Es parla de Mansur al-Hallaj, el místic que us he dit del segle X, que va ser esquarterat. També hi ha una referència a l'anarquista belga Edward Jorry, que va ser el qui va organitzar un dels escamots, el primer cotxe bomba, dit com a tal en el món, va ser fet servir a Turquia en l'intent d'assassinat del sultà otomà Abdulhamid I l'any 1905 a Istanbul, i va ser un grupúscul de separatistes armenis que va preparar aquest cotxe bomba per matar el sultà sota les ordres d'aquest anarquista belga. Llavors això s'esmenta a la novel·la i podem pensar que pel que s'explica, a banda d'aquests punts temporals, que són molt fins, sí que nosaltres podríem pensar que els empresonaments, les tortures, la violència explícita que pateixen els 4 empresonats ens porta a pensar en l'actual govern turc. És real pensar que t'està referint al que està passant en aquests precisos moments a Turquia?
Yes and no. As you said, I didn't put a specific time in the book because you live in Turkey. There is no need to mention a specific time in relation to pain or despotic government. After the publication of the book, I started to go to readings in Turkey. And I noticed 3 things. The first one, the people of my generation, or my friends came, they said, "Oh, Burhan, well done. You wrote the story of our generation. We suffered a lot." Oh, yes. And then the elder generation came, the generation of 1968. They said, "Oh, son, well done. You told the story of our generation." And the generation of today, the young generation of that Gezi Park, they said, "Oh, elder brother, thank you. You wrote the novel for us." And then the first feeling I got, kind of, that's artistic proud. I said, "Oh, I'm so talented. I managed to combine the feeling of 3 different generations into a single story." But after a moment, you realize that it's not your talent. It's the fate of Turkish society. Every generation suffers the same thing. Suffering repeating itself every decade. Now we suffer. We suffered same thing 20 years ago and 50 years ago. You just mentioned Yaşar Kemal and Nazım Hikmet. They all been in prison 50 years ago, 100 years ago. There's a saying in Turkey, it's something very common. Of course, it came out as a joke in the beginning. If you want to be a good writer, you should have an experience of prison. If you haven't been in prison, you cannot become a good writer. Of course, it's not true. But it shows kind of reality of Turkey. Almost every big writer been in prison. It is like Irish literature. The greatest Irish critic, Terry Eagleton. I love that guy. Once he said, if you are an Irishman and want to be a writer, but if you didn't have a troubled childhood, you don't have any chance. Then he says. So a comfortable childhood doesn't give you a good future as a writer in Ireland, he says. And in Turkey, it is more or less true for the prison.
Les teves novel·les s'han publicat en més de 20 països, evidentment com els Estats Units, l'Europa Occidental, però també en d'altres països com Pakistan, Etiòpia, Azerbaidjan, Macedònia. Creus que la teva literatura, i entre ells la novel·la Istanbul, pot fer prendre consciència als lectors d'aquests països que potser també han passat molts per ells per la presó, de lluitar a favor dels drets humans?
I'm not sure about it. Because I've been traveling a lot, I've been to Arab countries, I've been to India, and just came from Oslo this morning. And mainly people see the artistic way of the writing. In the beginning, I thought that everywhere people will just focus on the political side of the novel. But surprisingly, people, for example, in India, my books are published, I think, in 4 different languages. And they receive them as a new way of literature, rather than a political testimony. Of course, we talk about politics, as now we do. It is part of my life and part of my literature. But as I said, people take it mostly in a literary way.
És cert que per nosaltres la pel·lícula Expreso de Medianoche, pels que la recordeu, ens va impactar de forma fortíssima sobre les presons turques. Va ser una pel·lícula que va donar una imatge de Turquia molt dura, el fet de tractar-se d'un cas real, que es va fer la pel·lícula sobre un cas real. Evidentment, la pregunta que vaig a fer ara és rara, perquè seguim allà, és a dir, les presons turques són encara així, han millorat, si és que això es pot dir amb un oxímoron, han millorat, pot millorar una presó?
They improved it in that way. When this government came to power 17 years ago, there were 70,000 people in prison. Now, only the number of students in prison is 70,000. Overall, we have 250,000 people in prison, thanks to new government. And our smart president, because he travels all cities, in some cities, a politician comes to Girona, what they promise, they will say, okay, we are going to build a new cultural center. When he goes to mostly to Kurdish city, he says, I promise we are going to build a bigger prison. That's not a joke. He did it last year and before last year. That's the promise they gave. And even though now I'm a novelist and I left law, but still I keep my lawyer certificate. And I visit people in prisons, writers, journalists, academics. I use that advantage. I cannot say that prisons are good places. There is no need to talk about details. Oh, let me give you the latest example. As a lawyer, I have right to visit anyone. But last month, for the first time in my life, I was denied to visit a prisoner. A prisoner is a woman. She is the main figure of Turkish feminist movement. Her name is, let's pronounce it, Ayşe Düzkan. She's a blonde-haired, Turkish, beautiful woman, a good friend of mine. She was sentenced 15, 16 months in prison just for supporting a Kurdish newspaper one day as a symbolic support. She became one-day editor, like Jean-Paul Sartre did about 50 years ago in France. And she was sentenced because she supported the Kurdish newspaper. She went to prison. She said, no, I will not run away country. We don't run away. We stay and we go to prison. And after a couple of weeks, I went to prison to see her. They said, no, you cannot see her. Why? Rule changed. Rules, you are supposed usually change in a better way. Now they change the rules again and again and again. We sent her letters. She didn't receive letters yet. That's a simple example, you know. So I cannot say anything good about the condition of prisons and prisoners in Turkey. But let me change a bit subject here. The mood is not good. Don't think that in Turkey we are always suffering like this or talking in a low voice. Don't worry, you can come. We are so happy. We don't talk about politics a lot because when you are in the sea, you don't talk about the sea. Okay, it's part of our daily life. We enjoy it. We love it. You know, we make jokes and we resist. So when you come to Turkey, when you go to somewhere in Istanbul, you will think that everything is normal. There's no problem here. Yes, somehow or in some way there's no problem because we have to live this life in a happy way. So it is more positive than what I expressed here.
Per acabar, jo volia preguntar-te, has escrit una novel·la dura, molt plena d'esperança. Ets conscient que explicant els budells foscos d'aquesta ciutat d'Istanbul has acabat també mitificant-la? És a dir, has acabat fent una gran novel·la sobre Istanbul i fent créixer la seva aura, el seu mite. És a dir, has ajudat a ampliar, a fer créixer el mite d'Istanbul. N'ets conscient?
Yes. We need a bigger imaginative Istanbul in order to save this small Istanbul. You know that story, Don Quixote, she loved a woman, but the way he described this woman, she was a queen or princess, but in fact she was a simple peasant. She was a queen in the eyes of Don Quixote. That's the way that Don Quixote managed to go all through that path, that journey. It's the same in our daily life. We need big dreams, good dreams, in order to achieve this simple daily life.
Thank you. Molt bé, doncs, arribada fins aquí. Thank you. Obrim el torn de paraules, us cedim la paraula, teniu l'autor aquí i jo no us veig, però ara. Sí. Preguntes, comentaris? Ha quedat tot clar? Ningú? Sí? No veig. Molt bé. Everything was clear then. Molt bé, doncs cloem aquí aquesta sessió i jo voldria dir també, abans que res i abans de marxar, moltes gràcies a tots per haver vingut, per aquest Festival MOT que tanquem aquí, i jo com a comissari m'acomiado i no puc fer sinó agraint a les dues directores, la Carme Simón i la Glòria Granell, i tot l'equip i el petit exèrcit de tècnics i de persones que han col·laborat amb el festival perquè això es dugui a terme. Hem estat 3 dies a Olot, 3 dies a Girona i ho tanquem i tenim el privilegi de tancar-lo amb aquesta figura importantíssima ara de la literatura turca que està traduïda al català i al castellà i per tant la podeu llegir i la podeu trobar just a fora en els llibres que tindreu a disposició. Per tant, moltes gràcies, directores, que heu estat aquí i...
Gràcies a tu, Manel. Ha estat un plaer viatjar aquests dies per la mar de pàgines que és la Mediterrània. Tanquem aquí l'edició d'aquest any, en nom de l'Ajuntament d'Olot i l'Ajuntament de Girona, gràcies per la vostra confiança i tan sols us podem dir que ens retrobarem ben aviat amb més literatura. Gràcies.
Gràcies.
Thank you.